Yeah, we are. Live.
Yes, there we are.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, we are.
So we're live here with project leaders of Juice Shop, SKF, and Project Integration Standards. So if each of you as leaders could please introduce yourselves, starting with Born, then Glenn, then Ricardo, and Spiros. Introduce
Okay.
yourself and just a brief overview of your project and how you became a project leader.
Okay, can do. Yeah, hi, I'm Björn. I'm the project leader of the OWASP Juice Shop. How did I get there? So basically, I started writing the Juice Shop 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago, as a private pet project first. Because I needed something to train developers in web application security with something that was not the budget store, because that basically was outdated by then. So we needed something to also have some of the modern technology stacks that developers actually use. And I basically wrote this as a private pet project first. And then I think 2 years later, it became an OWASP project and I became the leader. So, and for those who don't know what the Juice Shop is, it's an intentionally vulnerable web application written in Angular with a Node.js backend, and it's pretty sophisticated, I would say. It contains, with the upcoming major release, it should break the 100 exercises or challenges barrier. So at the moment we have 98 hacking challenges, ranging from everything you find in the OWASP top 10 up to significant issues with business logic and other flaws, which might not be so common. Yeah, and you can try to, or the idea is that you try to find those vulnerabilities. If you successfully exploit them, then you will get them ticked off on a scoreboard, which will basically track your progress. And yeah, so that's basically the very short summary of what the project is. And it has by now several spin-off projects. Let's say one is for setting up capture the flag events, one is for hosting multiple instances, for example, in trainings. Yeah, the Juice Shop has its own ebook, which is serving as the companion guide, giving you all the information that you need for setting it up, and even all the solutions for all the challenges if you get stuck. So it's pretty consistent. And it's, I think, since 2018, I think. It's a flagship project, actually.
It's quite the project. Nice. So Glenn.
Yeah, so my name is Glenn Tenkate. I'm the project leader together with my brother Ricardo for the Security Knowledge Framework. I think we also started around 5-6 years ago. And just like Bjorn, it was a pet project at the company I was working at the time. And they gave me a quite good challenge. Like they told me like, hey, Glenn, we're doing full DevOps. Everything is automated. Yeah, you're the security team. So how are you gonna, embed security into this whole process? And the challenge there was that they would release like, I don't know, 20, 30, maybe more times per day the code, because they had everything automated. They were already doing full agile DevOps. And yeah, of course, that was a huge challenge for me, because the most tooling that we had integrated in the pipeline, yeah, they would sometimes take like 24 hours to run based on how huge the code base that we had was being scanned. Also, the thing was that, when we were brainstorming with Ricardo about it, we came like, yeah, maybe we should build like a better scanner that has, almost zero false positives, because, that also doesn't help when you want to automate and be quickly and having quick results. If you still have to do a lot of manual verification, yeah, that's also hard, right? Yeah, and then actually the idea of building SKF was created. because we saw a lot of vulnerabilities coming back over and over. We know it from the OWASP top 10. Of course, that's only the tip of the iceberg. There are way more vulnerabilities. So we wanted to have like a one-stop shop for developers where they could get like proper information and guidance on when you're building your application. So really, as a requirement phase, getting the right insight, the right awareness, and guide them in building applications secure by design. So we created this project there, and I had good traction at that company. So the developers followed it. For every release they did, they used the expert system in SKF that would give them the right set of security controls and requirements before they start programming. And because of that, they were aware of certain issues that could arise. And then I did like audits and code reviews with them based on the security controls. And it turns out it was a great mixture actually, because when we did those code reviews and audits, sometimes on implementation phase, they missed it. But 95% of all the vulnerabilities were actually covered and were not existing in that piece of code, in that application, because they use proper security requirements and follow those up. Then like a half year later, when we created the first alpha phase of SKF, we get to know to Jim. He was going to deliver a training at the company I was working for. And I was showing him the tool. I said, hey, look at this tool. What do you think of it? Because, you do a lot in the open source community. It's also an open source tool. And then he told me like, hey, wow, this is awesome. But I see you built your own requirements. But actually, I'm the project leader together with some other guys of the ASVS, the Application Security Verification Standard. Why don't you swap those controls, in for the ones that you currently have? So I looked into it, and indeed, a great project, very detailed, good security requirements. So then we integrated ASVS into it. And because we had the same vision as OWASP, right, to share our knowledge and make the world better, and do our part in sharing this important knowledge, we joined the project with OWASP, and from there it was an OWASP project. And indeed, like maybe 2 years ago, I think we also became a flagship project, because the way how we tackled this already from 6 years ago till now, it's quite unique, I would say, because we're really focusing, just like Bjorn does, focusing on the people, empowering them with the right set of knowledge. And SKF is just the framework, that helps you getting there and getting that knowledge. Over the 6 years, we did a lot of improvements. I think we rebuilt the application from scratch like 3 or 4 times, because it needed better, it needed quicker, it needed to be easier. Now, of course, with the Google Summer of Code, we are rebuilding it again. So we are now building a new Angular front end to it, modifying the back end, and some other important things, like we have now also the MASVS integrated into the security knowledge framework. We also now have labs, because like Bjorn also said, to have these different type of environments where the developers also can play, do the security validation themselves, and have that knowledge is also really important. So that is what we have. And like a couple of weeks ago, we also integrated JuiceShop into SKF, because now with the new version we're building, you can actually deploy JuiceShop from SKF and start hacking it. But also the SKF labs itself, you can spin them up in the cloud then automatically with a deploy button. And people can, on our demo website, then start playing with the JuiceShop or with the SKF labs, or use SKF itself as an expert system to get the security requirements. So that is basically for me. I hope I left something for Ricardo to tell.
Awesome.
Well, what's left to tell? Best
let's
thing
see
I
what
can always say when you went first is like, what he said.
It's great to
Oh,
know
yeah.
about the whole small world aspect. Like it all started with the training and, reference to ASVS and then all collaboration. Awesome. Which brings us to the project integration standards, Spiros.
Yeah, I'm Spiros. I'm one of the three project collaborators. You can call us leaders, I guess. In the project integration standards, we are a very new project. We don't exist for 6 years, or Bjorn, you said since 2016, right?
2014, yeah. 6 years is the Juice Shop. But the as an OWASP project, it's only 4 years now, yes.
Fair enough. So we don't exist for years. We exist for months. We started back in November. The idea was Elisa and Rob, I think Vanderveer. Sorry if I massacred the surname. My Dutch is not very good. So they were looking for a way to integrate security across all levels of an organization. So usually when you work in a professional setting, you have the policy makers, and you have the strategy decision makers, and you have the security engineers, and all these people who need to somehow have kind of a common strategy. And in my experience, what usually happens is that a lot of functions will create their own requirements and their own solutions from scratch. Same as Glenn did and Glenn and Ricardo did when they started the SKF, right? You guys created your own requirements from scratch because you weren't aware about ASVS, or you weren't very familiar with it.
Yeah, true.
We've noticed the same thing happening, but not only with requirements, but pretty much everything, right? Bjorn has started recently to integrate the ASVS and ZAP into JUSOP, which is great, but this is recent. ZAP, when you have a requirement, when you have a finding with ZAP, for example, it tells you very shortly how to fix it, but it doesn't link to anything. It might give you a CWE, but this is a testing standard. It's not the how to fix standard or a requirement standard and things like that. So we were all facing these problems on our own, and Eli kind of brought us together. He started talking to several OWASP leaders, and in the end, we had a call, and we found out that we are all facing the same problem. So we're gonna bring not only OWASP, but kind of the world of security standards together. And we've started this with a small write-up on how OWASP fits into the SDLC, and some more educational material on what you can use instead of your SDLC to make your life easier, to not have to reinvent the wheel, because reinventing wheels not great. Getting wheels off the shelf and plugging them in, much better. And then the next step, and what we're developing now, and it will get released as an MVP by the end of summer, is what we call a CRE. CRE is pretty much a way to create arbitrary mappings between standards and projects. So, for example, say I have ASVS X, Y on encryption. And I can say that, hey, when you want to do encryption at rest, you need to use these and those algorithms, and you can test if you're doing encryption at rest very efficiently by using this project and that project. And that's what CRE aims to do, aims to map ASVS clauses and maybe ISO clauses and maybe other like write-up and policy clauses to testing tools and other things that you can use to practically evaluate that what you're doing is great. And the opposite, say I'm already using JUSOP to train developers in my organization, I can easily then query the CRE database and say, okay, I'm using JUSOP. What what do my developers know now? What am I clear of? What should I not worry about anymore? Right?
But the CRE is not meant to be to link together only OWASP project identifiers, right? But you can also link in things from other sources, right?
Exactly. Yes, the CRE is general. It just links things together, and it makes it. The point is to make it easy to have mappings between security things. What the things are is left, like, it's up to the person creating the mapping. But if we have enough community mappings, then we can eventually have a pretty well documented graph of the security world. And then I can say that, I'm dealing with credit card information, for example. That means I need to be, PCI certified if memory serves. And in order to be PCI certified, I need to have I can use some chapters and these ASVS requirements, and then I can test them using these tools and those tools, and I can use JuSoap or maybe Budget Store to train my developers on and then I have a complete plan by doing a few queries online on a database or a website.
Cool.
That's it. I'm done.
That's awesome. This is such a needed thing, having those mapping opportunities. Awesome.
Yeah. And once we have this, then it can easily integrate into anything else. Like Glenn and Ricardo can then query CREs and say, hey, we have our ASVS mapping here. By the way, you can also use these tools, or it maps to these challenges in JuSoap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that would be cool.
definitely something we now miss, because we already do, we have the ASVS in it. From the ASVS we have CWE, we have cheat sheets, links, all those stuff. But there is again something in our data format, how we store it in the database, and this is also very time consuming for us, right? Because we need to update it from our application point of view, right? So we're really happy to see this initiative, that there will be a standard where we have this mapping, because of course we from SKF, we are really in need of something like this. I mean, now it also works in SKF, but it's all those double effort, double amount of work. That only now we benefit from SKF to have those cheat sheets and CWE and ASVS controls. But like Spiro said, there's so much more out there that we're not aware of. That we should also reference, right, and link. The more information, the better. So I'm really happy to see this initiative.
And if you think about something like the OWASP website migration that just recently happened, I mean, all the URLs to everything changed, right? Mm-hmm. So that means if you refer to tons of different places like cheat sheets and ASVS chapters and everything, then you have to update all those links yourself. If there would be one common, let's say, meta wrapper around this, like the CREs, then you only have to point to that, and then they will take care of all the underlying links and dependencies and keeping those updated. So you have it more decoupled from other projects who actually don't want to be a link database, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's really cool. If that takes off, that would be really great.
Because we kind of had the same problem, the same nightmare when ASVS went from version 3 to version 4, and we had to redo the entire mapping in SKF. That was a lot of work. So
yeah, you see the gray hair, so that's because of that.
Hey, luckily I don't have this problem.
Yeah, I like your suggestion. Maybe I should shave my hair as well.
For me, it's getting less of a problem too.
Yeah, well,
not deliberately though, but yeah.
But yeah, it is a good point that, you know, we put a lot of effort and time in it, and, you know, we're redoing it and on multiple places, and, you know, we need to be very strategic and tactical about it. And then have this integration project. Yeah, that's gonna benefit, in my opinion, all the OWASP projects, but also outside of OWASP where we can have a good impact. And you know, I'm also very curious to see the end result where we have multiple standards in there, like the PSI and the ASVS, and how they, you know, compare to each other, right? Because maybe now, because of this this overview that we create, maybe the PCI guys are like, indeed, wait, these controls actually from the ASVS, because now you have that insight, are actually also very interesting to take up into our standard, for example. So it makes things way more, you know, visible and comparable as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think the important thing for that standard is that others actually need to, they must want to be in there, right? So the more important websites or providers of information you have that want to be in that list of references, then the more it will be an accepted actual standard, right? So if it's just an OWASP internal thing, then it's still beneficial, but it would miss some great opportunity to maybe also point people away from bad resources on the internet on certain topics, because there's tons of really outdated, horrible information about some security topics on the internet, right? That you don't want to show up on Google on the first in the first 100 results, because that, and this would be a good chance to actually bind that all together.
Exactly. And if you can, like, because it's a community mapping, right? Like anybody can submit mappings, and it's like they are automatically like integrated. It's not much you need to do, and in its current format, and as long as the MVP is like concerned, it's just the GitHub automation that links to like some Lambda functions in AWS, like nothing major. So as long as anybody can submit mappings, this thing is self-sustaining, right?
Yeah.
Nothing. That's it. Very simple.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, essentially, the other questions I had planned around collaboration and everything, it really just kind of went into everything you already said. How things just kind of, you know, feed off of each other. Again, you know, even external from OWASP. So that said, I mean, anything specific as far as, you know, maybe new people who are interested to join the project or to learn from it as students. I know it's still summertime, and I'm not sure what exactly has changed in terms of people seeking their first entry to AppSec. But, and I know Born is giving a training.
In August, yes.
Yeah. So how does all this, like, any advice based on all this that we're discussing for someone new to AppSec, just, you know, entering, what would each of you have to say based on your project for that?
So if you start, then you should try to not overwhelm yourself with too much at the same time. So one of the things that I, for example, do in my security trainings, I use the Juice Shop, but I let the students only use a browser and maybe something like Postman, some API testing tool, but I will not try to teach them how to use Zap or Burp Suite or any other actual pen testing tool, right? Because they are mostly developers. And if you try to explain to them how vulnerabilities work, and at the same time you try to teach them how a security tool works, then they will maybe get, in the best case, 50% of each topic, but not everything, right? Because you're teaching two completely different things at the same time. So I'm always trying to keep it as simple for the beginning. What we just added in the Juice Shop in the last major release for beginners is a tutorial mode. So we already had for quite some time tutorial scripts, which you can just launch from the scoreboard with the click of a button, and then a little helpful avatar will pop up and give you some advice and guide you through some of the easier challenges. But you had to, I mean, you could use the tutorials or you didn't if you didn't want to. But with the tutorial mode, you're basically forcing the users to go through all the 1-star tutorials, and if you solve all those, then the 2-star, so the difficulty level 2 tutorials will unlock, and if you solve those, then the level 3, and then if you solved all the tutorials, then the full scoreboard with the over 90 hacking challenges will be available. So you don't have the, I mean, if you play around with it in the browser, you can unlock it, of course, before, but if you did that, then you're not really a beginner, I guess. So, but in the end, you can hide some of the complexity and the different possibilities from the juice shop for early beginners, because otherwise it can easily get overwhelming.
Right.
So that's one thing that I find really useful, and also maybe not trying to start with too many different things at once. That's also an advice that I try to give.
And the pedagogy that each of you bring to your project, just in terms of its organization, is really golden for that. You know, for example, in the labs from the SKF and other aspects. So, what's some advice for the others? I guess we kind of lost the order, but as to where somebody new who's a developer with very, very minimal security knowledge, where would you suggest they start with your project?
Ricardo, you have a...
Of course. Well, it kind of depends on what you want. So if you're really into like learning and discovering more about different attack vectors in the attack surface and how to exploit stuff, then I would definitely, for in the context of SKF, would point you in the direction of the labs and go through the write-ups and read the write-ups, and maybe also contribute there, because it's like really small Python Flask application, so it's not that hard to build and contribute. So that could also help you really well. But if you are, well, really looking into secure software development, then I would definitely suggest like, hey, click through the SKF, deep dive into the AESVS and the MASVS, check what type of security controls are in there, check all the other different linked sources that we have there, like, because if you would go to the labs, you will also find the links to the web security testing guide. And at some point now, if you get security controls from SKF, they will also reference you back to the cheat sheets. So go look around, look at the controls, what is in there, what are the topics, and get yourself acquainted, get really familiar what is in there, and then, well, try to use SKF as a means of threat modeling when you start writing code. Go through the expert systems, get your requirements, see how they fit. So yeah, on the really low level, I would suggest to start somewhere there.
Yeah, indeed. Because, you know, like getting to know like ASVS or the MASVS, that's already a mass amount of information, yeah, to consume, right? Even for a security specialist, I couldn't, you know, drill up all those controls from the top of my mind either right now. I will be close, but still I need the reference like SKF or look in the PDF of the ASVS or the MASVS to see again all the controls. But it's definitely good advice to just, you know, use SKF, use the expert system. Based on the questions, it will select from the ASVS the controls. And that would be already a good learning path, I would say, to see, you know, what type of controls you normally would implement, and then compare them to the list you actually get from SKF that is filtered from the ASVS or the MASVS. Because what I got back as a feedback from most developers is like, whoa, okay, I knew a couple, but I wasn't aware that all these extra controls were also needed, right? So that is definitely already something to, improve the awareness of certain design patterns or mitigations you should implement when building certain type of functionality. So you have that part indeed. And like my brother said, the SKF labs itself, well, when you're really new, I mean, same for Juice Shop, just do those type of labs, read the write-ups, do them yourself. And then, yeah, maybe also write a couple of those, right? I don't know how easy it is for in the Juice Shop, but like Ricardo said, we just use a static HTML templates with a Flask API. So it's really clean and easy. Some challenges are maybe like, I don't know, 10, 15 lines of code. A lot can be, of course, reused for other challenges, for other labs. So yeah, building some, vulnerabilities in there can also be a lot of fun. So I would say those are good things already where you can, be very busy with, because doing all those 100 Juice Shop labs, then we have like an SKF 60, then we have the expert system in SKF. So you will be busy for quite some time. And then we're talking only about 2 projects, right? There's so much more in OWASP to see and to learn from. So yeah. But
Yeah.
indeed,
And
like
just
yours,
one
have some
one
focus.
example.
That is
Sorry.
indeed very true. Yeah.
And some people told me that they find Juice Shop actually that it has quite an entrance barrier to actually hack it, because it's so quite sophisticated and it's actually acting like a real application. So maybe it's even easier to start with something like WebCode, for example, right? So if you're completely new to application security and you really want to make a first few steps, then maybe the WebCode exercises are a good thing to start with, and then you shift over to, for example, Juice Shop or just other more complex applications to hack, for example. And also what Ricardo mentioned, the cheat sheets. I personally, I love the cheat sheet series because it really boils down the most important information in a very easily consumable, relatively short form. So that's why, for example, the Juice Shop now also links to the cheat sheets for every hacking exercise that you solved, so that you can actually learn how to mitigate those by checking the corresponding cheat sheet. And over time, I would probably exchange those with the links to the CREs if they take off, right? Because then you would have links to everything else down there. But at the moment, I'm referring to the cheat sheets because they are very developer friendly, in my opinion.
Yeah, they certainly are. And Spiros, it might be a little bit different for you. But any advice to a newbie from?
No, that's a good question. I honestly hadn't thought about that. I would say, start by getting involved in the community. A really great thing about the security world is that we tend to build strong communities, and our community events, meetups, pre-lockdown, and other kind of digital nowadays events like the one we're currently participating in is a great way to get to know a lot of what's going on out there and what's happening, right? And in this context, because the security world is quite wide, it has a lot of paths you can follow. By participating in the community, you can find what is your path or how your existing skills translate into security, right? Because not everybody is the same. So, for example, a web developer might be more suited to start by hacking into Juice Shop. Some embedded person might be more suited towards the IoT Goat project. There is also several Try Hack Me challenges out there that have to do with more IoT devices, and so on and so forth. There is also cloud things out there for sysadmins who are, or existing like SREs who are trying to move into security. There is a whole new world. So yeah, be part of the community, contribute where you can. Best way to get involved and start.
Agreed. Yeah, there's really no substitute to all the community that goes into all of this, and the outreach committee. Spiros is chair. Congratulations again, Spiros.
I mean, thank you. I wouldn't have done nearly half as much without you guys, right?
It's a community thing. It's a community effort. Yeah, I mean, so any anything else at all, again, whether it be even just any notes about the community, and any notes about projects in general, just anything else.
I have a question, Bjorn. What's the cat's name?
It's Zaya,
Nice.
but I won't tell you how it's spelled. So it's not. I will not spoiler the entire hacking challenge in the Juice Shop where you have to put that in. But I think it's pretty easy to brute force now. Like 5 different ways to spell it, I guess.
And also Spiros, what will your wallpaper look like once you have it up for the project integration standards? Like Bjorn has his
once you can afford a proper wallpaper, what will it look like?
Yeah, for the screen, for your background, like the others here.
I guess, have you seen these scenes in movies where people try to like explain conspiracy theories with the red string, and they try to connect them to each other? Exactly that.
Yeah. Nice.
That sounds good.
Well said. I'm excited to see that one next time.
Me too.
Cool.
I think if you give that as an idea to some designers, they will come up with some crazy good logos for the project.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I'll send some emails after we're finished with the talk.
Yeah. Make your connections. It's needed. It's important stuff.
Yeah. The string that brings us together, I guess.
So, I guess this is it. So each of you guys, any preferred contact, Twitter, LinkedIn, how can people reach you?
Well, I'm basically everywhere, and my nickname is always B Kimmenich, so pretty easy to find, I guess. It's the same on GitHub, Twitter, LinkedIn. Yeah, so if you just go to the OWASP Juice Shop website, then you will find all the contact possibilities for the project, but also for me personally. Or you can also just write me an email to my OWASP address.
Yeah, so everything's first name dot last name at owasp.org.
Yeah, exactly. I also have a just first name at owasp.org address now. So
Ooh.
Yeah.
The one and only Born.
Yeah, it seems so.
Fancy.
Yeah. I only got it because I used that address. Short anecdote. I used that address in a demo I did with the Juice Shop. So I created a user with that address while it didn't exist actually. And then I built a challenge around it also to reset that user's email address. So, and then I contacted someone from the OWASP staff and asked, hey, I actually put that email address out there, but it doesn't exist. So maybe you can give me that email address. So if people try to use this, they use it, they don't get it bounced, but actually it gets somewhere. So that's how I social engineered my first name at owasp.org address.
Nice. So I guess I can put your Twitter's handles in the YouTube channel. Doing it on my mobile now. Unless does anyone here prefer something other than their Twitter?
Well, my Twitter is basically pretty dead.
Oh,
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. I missed the whole hype. It wasn't. I wasn't feeling it. So I created an account, did maybe like 10 tweets or something. Then I'm like, no, this is not what I like. No.
But you can reach us on Gitter and Slack, right?
Yeah, indeed. Normally we are like active on LinkedIn, so we see a lot of people, contacting us there, or they join our Gitter channel or our Slack channel. Most people are actually on Gitter, and I think that is because it's easier to log in there. If you have a GitHub account, you can just
Yeah.
click and you go into the Gitter chat room. But we're actually email, LinkedIn, Gitter, Slack. We're all available on all of them.
And it's probably all listed on the project website as well, right?
Yeah, on our GitHub page. Yeah.
right. And you
Yeah.
could just
And
search
it's
within
always
the
a good idea if people join the OWASP Slack, actually, because that's especially if they are new to AppSec, because there's tons of channels for each and every project, and from chapters and everything. So there you have like the full access to the community, basically. So there, I think the Slack OWASP Slack instance is the best option.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a wonderful place. I love just hanging out there. There are so many every single project or chapter or initiative channel I'm pretty sure is on there.
Yeah.
And as well as the individuals. It's a good place. It's a good place to
A
be.
very, very good replacement for the good old mailing lists, in my opinion. Yes.
Right. Yeah, I mean everyone's just so friendly and open. Really great. Awesome. So I guess this is a wrap. Everyone, keep in touch, follow these role models in our industry, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, same for you all.
You too.
Thank you very much for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
It was a pleasure.
Very much. Have a great weekend.
Yo,
You guys,
ciao.
girls. Bye bye.